Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast, featuring in-depth conversations with executives, leaders, influencers, and journalists in this dynamic, high-stakes industry. Hosted by Craig Picken, founder of North Star Group, the boutique executive search firm for the aerospace industry. You'll learn how top aerospace executives are developing their people, competing for talent, overcoming challenges, and adjusting to industry trends to drive growth and profits. And now, let's join your host, Craig Picken.
Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. As always, I'm Craig Picken. Hey, today I've got Bob Sullivan with me. Bob is the Chief Admin Officer for OneSky Aviation. For those of you who don't know, OneSky is the parent company of some well-known brands in the business aviation space to include Flight Options, FlexJet, SkyJet, Sentient Jet, and a couple more. So thanks, Bob, for being here.
Thanks, Craig. Happy 2019.
So happy 2019 to you as well. So for everybody out there, on the line is Bob Sullivan, Chief Administrative Officer for OneSky Aviation, which is the parent company of FlexJet, Sentient Jet, Private Fly. What else we got in there, Bob? There's a whole host of companies. I have a hard time remembering them all.
Yeah. We've been on a good hunt for a while. So 2018 was quite the year for us, both organically and through acquisition. We had a number of changes, but the acquisitions were Private Fly joined the family, a UK charter operator and aircraft management company, real good. Sirio joined in 2017, I think we mentioned that last time, which is an aircraft management company out of Italy. We also had Simcom join our family out of Florida, late 2018, from a business standpoint. And then, obviously our growth as a whole internally has been pretty tremendous. We had some monumental changes with our pilots in 2018, which I'd be happy to share with you a little bit of detail. And then our outlook is even better. I don't know if you saw the Business Jet Traveler article just this week on Aviation, and our partnership with them is moving along pretty rapidly. So supersonic jets, we think, are going to play a big piece of our future down the road. We think there's a real market for it. So we're excited about all the things that have been going on.
Gotcha. Did you guys see the, we're going to Ariane real quick before I forget about it. Did you see the Boeing part did you guys have kind of a heads up on that as being a major partner in the program? Did you have a heads up that Boeing was going to come in as, Lockheed transitioned out? I take it there was some, obviously Boeing get involved has got to be an incredibly positive thing. But did that take you?
Sure. Well,
did you see it coming?
Well, look, I think you have to understand that when the space gets as high as it does and the opportunity gets closer and closer, anybody that's a real partner with them are involved in, kind of the decision making. So I'd say yes, that Ken was well aware of it ahead of time. I know he's excited about the product. He's excited about their momentum and anything that gets them, off the ground sooner rather than later. And Boeing's an ideal partner for that. So yes, it was a good move for them. It's a good move for us as well.
That's cool. No, that's good. It's neat to see it all coming together. It'll be neat to see a supersonic business jet in the next 5-6 years, for sure. So, hey, all right.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Go. Well, I was going to say, that's really a niche market. I mean, if you think about our business, the core business of fractional within FlexJet or some of our sister companies, Sentient or SkyJet or even Private Fly or FlareJet, supersonic would play a piece of it, but we put a lot of capital and a lot of resources behind our large cabin aircraft, whether it be the 650s or the partnerships with Gulfstream at the 450 level, eventually the 500 coming online. And we've seen a lot of progress as it relates to sales and interest from that standpoint. So we're not, moving all of our eggs into the Ariane business. It'd be a nice to have, but it is absolutely a niche market. We'll have to see if the proof is in the pudding down the road.
But let's talk about the niche market too. Back in the mid 90s, when the Gulfstream 5 and the Global Express were, on the development side of the house,
Mm-hmm.
people wondered if each company could sell 100 each. I think the airplanes were $50 million a pop. They're like, okay, can we sell 100 of these at 50 million? What's the market? Here we are 25 years later almost,
Right.
and thousands of those things have been sold. I mean, the
Sure.
Gulfstream 550, the Global Express, they've been two of the ultra long range, large cabin airplanes have been it's been the most successful segment out there next to, the super mid cabin. So,
Right. Right.
who knows, this, the SSBJ may become more than a niche depending on where it all ends up. So time will tell, right?
Sure. Yep.
Hey, so let's go back to our last conversation. Talk about last time we chatted, FlexJet and flight options pilots had decertified the union. How's all that?
That's correct.
How's all that coming together, and how's that affected the company so far?
Well, look, I think anytime you have a monumental change like that within an organization, it really gives you an opportunity to be thankful for the culture of the people that you have. And, we've got 600-700 pilots that made the decision to get a direct relationship with the company as opposed to going through a third party. It was unprecedented in the industry. Obviously, it's changed the dynamics of our workforce considerably, but we haven't taken it for granted in any way, shape, or form. One might even argue, especially those on the inside, that it's been a lot more work than what we had before. Our relationship with our pilots is something that's ever evolving. We spent a significant amount of time in the first 3 or 4 months just listening. What are the pain points out there for the pilots? Not just around pay, but around quality of life, the opportunities for growth and advancement. I mean, our pilots really want to be part of something special and something different, and that's what we're building here. We introduced a pay program at the end of 2018, so began in 2019, which was about a $17 million increase in our normal pay for about 600 pilots. We increased the growth opportunities. We made some commitments to new hires because we recognize that to be the best of the best, you have to get the best of the best. And certainly we had a chance to put ourselves at the top of the market. We haven't stopped in any way, shape, or form. We just addressed the initial pain points with our pilots. We're also going through some really neat things that no organization has done before. In fact, we're presently in the process, our pilots are voting on a seniority system to integrate the two companies. If you want to step back in time, the pilots between flight options and FlexJet were never officially integrated. I don't want to go into the negatives on why the seniority system that the union had presented was unfair, but we looked at it based on the feedback that we got from our pilots, and we had them come up with options. We spent a couple months in committee. We had 37 dedicated pilots prepare different proposals, and right now our pilots are voting on the top 3. They're going to narrow those down to a runoff, and then we'll have the top choice. And our goal is to have that in place by the beginning of April, something that most organizations take years and years to resolve. It's not going to be perfect for everybody, but I can tell you what it is going to be. It's going to be transparent to everybody. We also launched an incredible advertising commitment this past year in 2018. And we looked at our organization. Most organizations of our size and magnitude, they focus on the jet, they focus on the owner. But what was really interesting is we saw from the feedback that people want to know about our pilots. So if you haven't seen it, go to #ImpressivePilots and check it out, because we got some of the most talented people in the industry. The listening tours continue. We've really been given a unique opportunity to right some of the wrongs that were done. And, oh, by the way, we hired 140 pilots next year, and our plan is to do about 180 this year. So we haven't stopped in any way, shape, or form. We haven't even caught our breath. There's guaranteed upgrades at about 3 years, and our growth programs, both in international large cabin and domestic red label, have just been phenomenal. And I got to be honest with you, we have no one to thank but the pilots. We've had a real successful transition in some of our senior leadership roles. Megan Wolf has taken on the role of COO. In 2019, she'll be about a year under her belt in around the June timeframe. Megan comes from the sales and marketing standpoint. Craig, you might even recall her. Megan was one of the client development managers back in the RTA days. So she really understands that side of the business. Nobody is better equipped to drive the culture change within the pilots, to be an active listener, to really get down to the nitty gritty of the quality of life issues that face these folks day in and day out, and to make it the best place to work. And that's our goal.
Yeah. You also had one other big hire too. Megan took over as the COO, and then there was one other hire you had mentioned not too long ago. I can't remember who it was.
From the outside, are you referring to that?
Yeah, I can't. Sales marketing.
Well, we've had some senior leadership join us with our acquisitions, and look, our goal with acquisitions has always been really somebody. We look for organizations that not only complement our business, but get us the ability to vertically integrate. We spend a lot of time understanding who the leaders are, both with, if you were to say SimCom or Private Fly. I mean, we've had some real good chances of people that meet our cultural expectations. And we pass on deals as well because they don't necessarily meet who we are and who we want to be as an organization. But those two companies specifically, they're just fantastic complements to our current portfolio.
So how does Private Fly play into, obviously you got Sentient Jet now, which is the big card company you bought several years ago. You've got Skyjet, which you picked that up with the FlexJet acquisition, correct? And then
we picked up. Yep. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now you got Adam Tweidle's company, Private Fly, which you acquired 6 months ago?
That's right. Yep. Just about 6 months. It seems like it was yesterday. The great thing about Private Fly is they have such a strong brand and reputation in the UK. They fit perfectly within our business model. If you ask how do they play with Sentient, I think they complement Sentient better than anybody out there. Adam certainly understands who we are. I spent the last week with him. He's an enjoyable person to work with. He's got a great vision on how the organization should grow. And he certainly is excited to be part of the family. But I think if you look at our business and what we've done domestically, I think Private Fly is a perfect partner to help us launch or help us to continue our growth within the European market frame. I think I recall the person that you're talking about, by the way, and that is Maureen Eugene. Maureen Eugene joined us beginning in January. And she is also going to play a big piece in Europe. I think that's who you're talking about. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah. What's the role she's going to play?
Yeah. Marine's going to lead some of our initiatives on the FlexJet side. So if you were to think of our business and you were to categorize it, we kind of got two mind frames, although we all work together. You've got the asset light model, which would be your Sentient and your Private Fly. And then you've got your aircraft model, or the ones where we own the asset, and that would be the FlexJet side. So Marine's going to be launching some really unique products that revolve around our current fleet and our current aircraft. And I think you'll see some announcements come really soon. That'll be exciting. I know I teased you last time. I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis with some of this stuff, but you'll see it come out in some announcements here real soon. But she is a great complement to our business. She's been in this industry for a long time. She understands who we are. She understands the organization. She understands the expectations that are on her shoulders as well.
No, it's awesome. And then finally, you got SimCom. You guys went to Florida and you bought SimCom. Is that going to be you're going to transition? You're going to keep that as a third-party pilot training? You're going to take it in-house and start to take care of your own guy? Put a little bit of both? You're going to grow the vertical?
Look, I think if you look at where SimCom fits at within our integration and our opportunities, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's only a couple of major players in there, and we have strong relationships with those folks. But we also have an opportunity to be committed not only to our consistent business, but our growth platforms as well. I think SimCom fits perfectly in there. I know you know Eric. He's a great leader of the organization. They're down in Florida. We've got some other entities as it relates to what the OneSky platform with data down in Florida. So I think you'll see some exciting things coming out of there in the next few years. They're smaller airframes right now, but that doesn't mean there isn't an opportunity for bigger iron, bigger simulators. And I know Ken has a strong vision about what that could look like. And you'll be real excited to see another player in that space.
Yeah, well, that's the one common. Look, the one common thread between private fly and SimCom. I know Adam. He is strong. He grew that thing. He built that thing from nothing and grew it in a meteoric fashion. Made it successful. And Eric Henson down in SimCom, I think he's been the CEO there for 5 or 6 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And
Right.
he's been an industry staple, and he's done a great job with the company. So it's nice to see you guys. It's nice to see you guys putting it all together. So that's cool. So I mean, what do you? So it sounds to me like Ken's really putting together a big, big umbrella company that will really dominate, 91, 135 operations. Is that in 91K? Is that the goal? Domestically and internationally.
To a little
bit of a crowded
to rule the world. It is a crowded space, but there certainly is opportunity for growth, both organically and through acquisition still. So we're certainly not done from that vantage point. But I think if you start to look at the portfolio of organizations and how they complement each other, I think what Ken hopes to get is the best synergies out of all of them. Some of this isn't reinventing a mousetrap or reinventing the wheel in any way, shape, or form. It's just taking the best of what you have and seeing if it can transfer. And I think that's where he looks when he looks at organizations. Do they fit the technical side of what we need? Is it something that complements our current business? But as I mentioned earlier, the cultural side of it, as an HR person by trade, that gets me excited that we just don't buy companies because it's something that can fit in our wheelhouse. We spend a lot of time really getting to know the people and who plays in the space and who leads the company. And we don't try to change it going in. We just try to model our best practices and give them some institutional knowledge that we've learned along the way. We have a way of doing business. We operate all our entities under 3 fundamental principles. Those have stood the test of time in every business that we have: fanatical attention to detail, treating employees like family, long-term relationships. But from our vantage point, from a growth standpoint, I think we're going to look at what we have and we're going to see if we can make something really, really special out of this, more than it is today. I don't think that we look at ourselves as competing with NetJets anymore, or that we look at ourselves competing with just one MRO. We look at ourselves as a global entity. We're going to have a big footprint in this space. We're going to use some of our knowledge that we've captured over the last 20, 30 years as it relates to data and make something special for everyone out there that's in the private space. So I think the future's never been brighter for us. Our growth trajectory for 2019, it's pretty high. The expectations are pretty high. We put a lot of time and a lot of money into Red Label and the growth there. We talked about that last time. I think you're going to see an increase in private terminals. We got a real nice space coming along in Dallas, right where the Dallas Cowboys are centered at Love Field. So you'll see some of that. I think you'll continue to see some consolidation in the marketplace. We'll play part of some of those, but maybe not in every single one of them. But, from our vantage point, I think aviation has never been brighter. I sit on the board at NBAA, and, we sit around and you listen to the thought leaders in business aviation, and they all agree the same thing, which is, the biggest challenge that's facing all of these businesses is just talent. Is there enough talent to go around? You deal with this every day. I certainly deal with it every day. And we're doing some really good things to address that. And I'm talking just pilots. I'm talking about strategic thinkers that have the analytical ability to put together strong people strategies. And we're focused on getting the cream of the crop when it comes to that.
Well, yeah, everybody's fighting for that. And, I just saw John Holmes up at AAR and I were just trading some messages. They just took a big initiative to focus on, the mechanics. They see a huge gap in the market, and they're going to make a major play in it and start investing in community colleges and wherever else they can to start, enhancing their supply of mechanics. I think you guys got to be doing the same thing. mean, this is something that, a lot of people have got to focus on. And if they're not, and quite frankly, the OEMs need to start focusing on it as well, because, lack of pilots and a lack of mechanics, it doesn't help your ability to sell airplanes. So,
No,
that's the one thing that they should be focusing on, and maybe they are. And if they are, they need to be telling the world, but they're not.
Sure. Sure.
Disheartening.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the people that sit back and think that this will pass are the ones that they're going to be closing up shop in the next few years, or certainly losing a significant amount of their revenue stream. This is something that was predicted 3 to 5 years ago. It's come to fruition. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but we certainly understand that the marketplace has changed. The industry as a whole, we got to get sexy again. We got to get folks excited about coming and building airplanes, working on airplanes, flying airplanes. And we've got to adjust our market space for that as well, because, everything is technology driven now. You've got to get really, really sharp, folks. We've done some neat things with internships and partnerships with university to help us grow those. But again, in no way, shape, or form are we done. We talk every day about recruitment. It's at the forefront of every board meeting to make sure that we have the best talent. We have the tightest market space that we can as it relates to people.
Yeah, I got you. So, all right, last night was the State of the Union address. And we won't get political, but, a couple years ago, no CEO in his right mind would say, yeah, I got a jet, or I'm going to use one.
Right.
Are you seeing the political climate changing now? Are they willing to step out of the shadows and go, yeah, it's a tool I need, and I'm happy to do it?
It's funny. It was a little longer than a couple of years ago, although it just felt like a couple of years ago that it was out of vogue to fly aircraft. No, I think we have seen a realistic adjustment to the travel patterns of both the business traveler and the leisure travel to be more cost effective and more prudent with their dollar. But from our vantage point, our hours under management have continued to grow. We've continued to take market share from the industry as a whole, from some of the competitors. And from my standpoint, or from my seat, I think it's never been a better time to be in aviation. All of that can change with, the world, and certainly there's contingency strategies that everybody puts in place. But we're focused on growth mode right now. I think that the administration that's in here right now, or maybe the economy as a whole, I think they're putting that as background noise as it relates to where we're at. You can look at the Dow, and as goes the Dow, so goes flying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, but it's all good. So the one last piece, I'll ask one last question. The one piece I don't see in the directional aviation OneSky team is aircraft management. You guys gonna start managing your own? You gonna get into it, or are you gonna start thinking about getting into it and taking control of your own source of aircraft?
Well, first of all, we do have an aircraft management company. Corporate Wings is absolutely an aircraft management company, and they've been around. They kind of even predated the flight options business. Back in the day. They might not be as large as some of the organization, but there is 100% a niche market that they control in there. To ask if we're going to get into that, I think we've been in there for a while. It just hasn't been our focus point. And if there's an opportunity there for some partnerships or some agreements, I think we'd entertain those. But we feel pretty comfortable with our spot in there. We've got a really exciting young executive that runs that company, and she is as bright as they come. So I think you'll see some neat things from there, but thanks for keeping it on the radar for us.
No problem. So
Sure.
You're bullish, you're optimistic, you're growing, you're pretty happy. It sounds like everybody's pretty happy.
Yep. It is, but look, I say all that with, the caveat that there's risk in this whole thing. I mean, there's risk if the economy takes a turn. There's risk if we can't meet our expectations on talent. There's always risk as it relates to safety and, making sure that you're running an efficient operation. There's scale issues. So I think we spend a lot of time staying up at night thinking about what can make us better, what can make us more profitable, but what can keep us at the forefront 10 years from now. We talked about this last time. We joked about, we've been going out of business for 20 years and we've never been better than we are right now. So as optimistic as I am, I think we're also, from the vantage point, we're realistic more than anything.
Yeah.
Ken just won Living Legends. He just won the Living Legends Award. And, we're excited about that. We're excited to celebrate how many years we've been in business, 20-some years. And we're excited to put the next chapter into play.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Everybody used to say, watch out for that Ricky guy. Flight Options is going out of business. Here you are 25 years later, you've bought up the competition. He's won the Living Legends Award. Making money and everybody and growing companies and providing jobs. And it's a great thing. It's a great success story. So, and I saw Mike Silvestro, also the longest tenured CEO in the industry. Which is a nice, that's a nice feather in his cap too. He's a high quality individual.
He's top notch. And look, Ken provides the vision. He surrounds himself with really good, competent people that can execute on the strategy, that have ideas to take us to the next level. And, the one thing that you'll see within our organization that is incredibly rare as it compares to any of the other host of companies is our tenure amongst our executives is really, really high. We don't have a whole lot of turnover at the top ranks of our organization or even the middle ranks. People just want to stay with us because they're part of something special.
It's a nice place to be. I mean, I think that's got to create an executive culture where everybody's, marching in step. You know what the other guy's thinking about every minute of every day, and that helps to create a strong culture of success.
Sure does. It sure does. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on today. I'll look forward to catching up with you in a couple more months and getting another update. And I'll be reading the press releases too, because I'm sure you got other stuff, some other businesses y'all are looking at.
I like it. And Craig, thanks for everything that you do. I know there's a lot of people that listen to your podcast and, try to get insights on what's going on in the organization. I listen to them. And I appreciate you keeping us all apprised of it.
Well, appreciate that. So everybody out there, the Aerospace Executive Podcast, you can join us on iTunes or on Podbean. So thanks, Bob. Appreciate you coming on today and look forward to our next conversation in a couple months. Let's have you back.